The bottom line of why I'm here is that I'm really in a position, I'm not here to motivate you, obviously, you don't need that. And a lot of times that's what people think I do, and it's the furthest thing from it. What happens though is people say to me, well, I don't need any motivation. And I say, well, that's interesting, that's not what I do. I'm the why guy. I don't know why you do what you do. What is your motive for action? What is it that drives you in your life today, not 10 years ago, or are you running the same pattern? Because I believe that the invisible force of internal drive activated is the most important thing in the world. I'm here because I believe emotion is the force of life. All of us here have great minds. You know, most of us here have great minds, right? I don't know if I'm in the category, but we all know how to think. And with our minds, we can rationalize anything, we can make anything happen. We can, I agree with what was described a few days ago about this idea that people work in their self-interest, but we all know that you don't work in your self-interest all the time. Because when emotion comes into it, the wiring changes in the way it functions. And so it's wonderful for us to think intellectually about how the life of the world is, and especially those who are very smart. We can play this game in our head, but I really want to know what's driving you. And what I'd like to maybe invite you to do by the end of this talk is explore where you are today for two reasons. One, so that you can contribute more. And two, so that hopefully we can not just understand other people more, but maybe appreciate them more and create the kinds of connections that can stop some of the challenges that we face in our society today. They're only going to get magnified by the very technology that's connecting us, because it's making us intersect. And that intersection doesn't always create the view of everybody now understands everybody and everybody appreciates everybody. So I've had an obsession basically for 30 years. And that obsession has been what makes the difference in the quality of people's lives? What makes a difference in their performance? Because that's what I got hired to do. I got to produce the result now. That's what I've done for 30 years. I get the phone call when the athlete is burning down on national television and they were ahead by 5 strokes and now they can't get back on the course. And I got to do something right now to get the result or nothing matters. I get the phone call when the child is going to commit suicide and I got to do something right now. And in 29 years, I'm very grateful to tell you I've never lost one in 29 years. It doesn't mean I won't someday, but I haven't done it. And the reason is an understanding of these human needs that I want to talk to you about. So when I get those calls about performance, that's one thing, like how do you make a change? But also I'm looking to see what is it that's shaping that person's ability to contribute, to do something beyond themselves. So maybe the real question is, you know, I look at life and say there's 2 master lessons. One is there's the science of achievement, which almost everyone in this room has mastered to an amazing extent. That's how do you take the invisible and make it visible, right? How do you take what you dream about and make it happen? Whether it be your business, your contribution to society, money, whatever it is for you, your body, your family. But the other lesson of life that is rarely mastered is the art of fulfillment. Because science is easy, right? We know the rules, you write the code, you follow those, and you get the result. Once you know the game, you just, you up the ante, don't you? But when it comes to fulfillment, that's an art. And the reason is it's about appreciation and it's about contribution. You can only feel so much by yourself. So I've had an interesting laboratory to try to answer the question of the real question, which is what's the difference in somebody's life if you look at somebody like those people that you've given everything to, like all the resources they say they need. You gave them not a $100 computer, you gave them the best computer. You gave them love, you gave them joy, you were there to comfort them. And those people very often, and you know some of them I'm sure, end up the rest of their life with all this love, education, money, and background, spending their life going in and out of rehab. And then you meet people that have been through ultimate pain, psychologically, sexually, spiritually, emotionally abused, and not always, but often they become some of the people that contribute the most to society. So the question we got to ask ourselves really is, what is it? What is it that shapes us? And we live in a therapy culture. Most of us don't do that, but the culture is a therapy culture. And what I mean by that is the mindset that we are our past.
You hang around people that are changing will not change you. I know this whole mastermind thing, we have masterminds and I believe they're great, they're awesome. But if Ryan back there hangs around me and I'm changing, that don't mean he's gonna change. So look, I've seen this for 30 years. I've gone places where the only reason everybody went there was because they were working on themselves, changing, improving, courses, classes, education. Elena and I, actually, great story about Elena and I. The only reason people went to these places was to improve themselves, okay? I gotta tell you something. Only about 10% of the people that went there flew. They were changing. They were actually making the changes. The other people were hanging around people changing. Just because you're around people changing doesn't mean you are gonna change.
You got to do the work.
To change, my brothers and sisters. You got to change.
Ooh.
Ryan hangs around me. If I change my clothes, that don't mean he changes his. If everybody in the house changes their clothes, takes a shower, puts some deodorant, it don't mean if Ryan does not change his clothes and take a shower and put on his deodorant, he gonna stink.
Dropping bombs.
To change, you got to change. It doesn't matter how many people you hang around that are changing. If you hang around everybody just getting rich, getting wealthy, doing great, creating stuff, and you're not going to change. To change, you got to change.
If you actually believe something in a meeting and it might be against the grain, saying it in a respectful way matters, because in 3 years when it becomes true, the other 7 people in that room will remember that, and that may lead to the growth in your career that you're looking for. People think they grow in their career by staying within the framework of their organization. They're actually quietly, subconsciously ruining their career if they don't agree with the point of view. And I know for fact, because the best part of Cannes for me, hands down, is 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when people have so much rosé in them, they start talking truth. I know for fact that there's a lot of people that have strategies or executions they don't personally believe in. It's just a framework of where the margin is in their company or what they have to be held accountable to a bonus. And that's a tough life in some way. I mean, this is only just work. There's much bigger things going on. But I will say being on the record in a room respectfully of what you actually believe, brave, is a very, very good idea. And honestly, back to brave, there's so much content. There's so much going on in the world. What I think this room believes and defines as brave is actually the only prayer to break through consumer attention to make something happen in your business.
I used to post a lot about what time I was waking up. I'd show myself in the gym sometimes at like 2 a.m. And so people started setting an alarm. And I'm like, whoa, like that's not what this is. Like I sleep as much as I need to. I prioritize sleep. So I stopped doing that because I didn't want people to lose sight of what I'm really saying, which is that fulfillment is the punchline. So if we can just literally skip to the end of like the whole thing that we're going to talk about, like all of life, the success that people are chasing, they think they want money and fame and all of that. And those things can be very valuable in a way. But what I want people to hear in my message about like working hard and discipline and all of that is the only reason that I put as much time and energy into it is because I love it. So me trying this method in something I don't love, I've lived that, I know where that ends, and it ends with me quitting. And that's something that I'm sure we'll get into later, but it was like, I did that. The first 6.5 years of my journey as an entrepreneur were about the typical grinded out stuff. And look, man, it was an important phase of my life, but it ended up really chipping away at my soul. And I flirted with depression just enough in my life to know how dangerous it is. And dangerous because it will literally lead to somebody killing themselves, or just dangerous in that, yeah, sure, you live a normal lifespan, but you hate every minute of it. And so just really understanding how you get out from under that. And like lesson number 1, love what you do.